So I was very, very impressed with Raven Johnson yesterday. Really, really impressed with Raven. And it's one of those funny things where it's like, everyone's like, oh yeah, she should be the starting point guard. Play Caitlin at the 2, man. Trade Caitlin if you're going to play her at the 2. I mean this. If you want to play, she could play at the 3. Because people are like, oh, she's like 5'9". Yeah, but she's got like a 6'4" wingspan. That is the equivalent of being 6 foot with a basically equivalent of being 6 foot with a 6 foot wingspan, which is Sophie Cunningham. She's fine playing the 3. But I was very, very impressed at the defense of Raven Johnson. I was very impressed at I'll say the control of Raven. Because there are times you need to control a game. And that's what I was as impressed with as anything with. And by the way, I was more impressed with how she played in the first half and the second half. In the first half, or in the second half, she basically, it was the scrubs versus, lack of a better word, the third stringers versus third stringers. She played a few minutes when they pulled Justine Passat out of the game. That being said, it is one of those things where, when it comes down to it, I think there are times when you need absolute control of the game. My only problem with Raven Johnson as a individual point guard is that not that she doesn't run the floor, because she does. She doesn't really put her head up in transition. She doesn't put her head up at all really in transition. And we saw a couple of times where it's like, okay, well, to be fair, I'm not even going to say she does it less than anyone else. She's just not Caitlin Clark. And what the Indiana Fever get from that transition point guard in Caitlin Clark is is something that no other point guard does. That being said, she is a connective piece. She's a good passer. She had a nice jump shot. She isn't really looking for a shot, which can be a bit of a problem, but also maybe not. And to an extent, doesn't really look for a shot too much. Doesn't slash a lot. Is genuinely a passable offensive player because she's a connected passer. She's Marcus Smart. She is Marcus Smart. And maybe she will eventually improve the offensive game. But this is a perennial DPOY candidate. I was shocked at... I knew about her on-ball defense, and I knew about some of the off-ball things. And by the way, stop saying she can guard power forwards in the league. Dugalich is being converted into a shooting guard. And there is not one power forward in the league that would not eat Raven Johnson alive. But what she can do is, if she occasionally gets switched onto a power forward, she might not get absolutely destroyed. But I really liked her defensive reads. It was the off-the-ball defense that I'm like, okay. Because it's very different watching someone play at South Carolina and watching someone play in the W. When you're playing on a team that's meant to win every game, it's very different. But she made one unbelievable... I don't even know if it counted as her steal, where she kind of basically played like a fullback in rugby. And she just almost played like a sweeper role. She saw her player wasn't going to get the ball and just decided, you know what, I can see the eyes of what this point guard's throwing the ball. I'm going to make a read. And I'm like, holy shit. That was impressive. Her 2 blocks were what they were. They're defensive recovery plays. That happens. We all know Raven's got long arms. Defense is not steals and blocks. There were a couple of reads that she made in the defensive end. The read that she made, I think, was the end of the third? Was it the end of the third quarter where they called a timeout? It was. It was after Passat fell for 3, I think. Or was it Passat fell for 2? But either way, it was, they kind of ran some play to get a over the top 3 for the opposite corner. Raven just stood there, seeing exactly what was going on, knew exactly where it was so that she could go and guard the shooter on that play. Her defensive instincts and defensive awareness are incredible. And I think long term, I am concerned for how little she's going to play this year, because I think her minutes this year are going to start with a 0. I think she plays sub 10 minutes a game this year. But I see the vision. Because I can see Raven Johnson becoming Like if they can't keep Kelsey next year, the likelihood of Raven Johnson starting is kind of high. I think she takes a lot of Lexi's minutes. Like Lexi Hull has to shoot the ball. Because if you're like, oh, Lexi's bigger, yeah, but Raven's equally as good a rebounder. If they both put their hands up in the air, I think Raven Johnson and Lexi Hull reach about the same amount. Like, just because someone's head's taller doesn't really mean anything. Like, she's fighting it with Lexi for minutes. And everyone's like, oh, she's going to play point guard. A couple of minutes. Ty Harris is a better point guard than Raven Johnson. Ty Harris averaged 10 a game for the third best team in the WNBA. And by the way, if you want to say, oh, but Raven Johnson won an Addy, yes, so did Ty Harris at South Carolina. Ty Harris is the greatest guard Don Staley's ever produced. And if I'm being real here, Raven Johnson is going to be a Swiss Army knife utility player. There are going to be games where it's one of those things where it's like she almost is going to have to stay ready. Stay ready so that you don't have to get ready type thing. And I wouldn't be surprised if when it comes down to the playoffs, she ends up playing big minutes at the three. Because what will happen with her at the three? The Indiana Fever, you can run, depending on who you're playing, you can run 3 guard lines. You can't against the Liberty. You cannot against the Liberty. But like if you're playing the Aces and they're running with Kennedy, Jackie, and Chelsea, they're going with a 3 guard lineup. You then match it up with Caitlin on Chelsea, Caitlin or Kelsey on Kennedy, and she goes and guards Jackie. Or like you can run that lineup. When we're playing the Atlanta Dream, nobody on the team can guard Ryan Howard. Raven might be able to. Like, Lexi Hull has been cooked every single time by Ryan Howard. So no one say Lexi Hull there. Raven might be able to play that role. Like, there are a lot of things when it comes to Raven Johnson. I'm like, there are certain games where she really will suit. I don't know if it'll be this season. I don't think it will be this season. I really don't think it will be this season. Like, genuinely, we've got a situation where like she could be the long-term Marcus Smart, and I'm actually okay with having a long-term Marcus Smart beside Caitlin Clark, especially somebody who, you know, is able to get the ball. And by the way, I think it's going to be long after Steph White is gone as a head coach. I think the Indiana Fever are going to be, I'm not going to say disappointing, but like, is 5th seed disappointing? Like, is 26-18 disappointing? Like, that's my kind of prediction for the Indiana Fever is 24 to 26 wins, fighting for that 4th seed in the playoffs and winning a round in the playoffs. I think they win a round. I think this is a team that's more suited to the playoffs. I think they win a round and then lose in the 2nd round. Like, is that a disappointing season? Matching what they did last year? I would say possibly. And I just think this is going to be a weird season because I don't know. I think there's going to be a lot of weird things happening this season. I think it's going to be a lot of, in comparison to last season, I think it's going to be a lot of games where you're like, what the fuck's going on? And then the size is an issue. Like, I don't think this team is ready. Not even ready. I don't think this team really can compete at the highest level. That being said, I think Raven Johnson is somebody who, in the long term, could. So, look, when I was looking at the Fever's draft pick, I said it. I was like, look, how do you make this pick when you just took Ty Harris? And I still don't think she breaks in ahead of Ty Harris. But there was enough in yesterday's game that I'm like, okay, you know there's a baseline level that this is a WNBA player. Like, by the way, I watched Gabriela Jaquez play for the Sky yesterday. Raven Johnson's better than Jaquez. Raven's better than Jaquez. I watched the Washington Mystics play. And, I mean, Betts just missed. She looked active. She's better than Duglic, who went 9. Much better than Duglic. Like, she is better than players who went ahead of her. I can tell you that for a fact. So, yeah, maybe they saw something. Anyway, see you guys.